All right, welcome to The Explainer, where we get into the big ideas. Today, we're diving deep into a really powerful novel from 1944, Somerset Maugham's The Razor's Edge. Now, this is a story that was born out of a massive global crisis, and it gets right to the heart of this huge tension, the one between the materialism of the West and the deep spiritual wisdom of the East. And really, it all boils down to this one question. What do you do? What do you really do when the world you thought you knew just completely falls apart? When it loses all its meaning? I mean, this was the question that absolutely haunted an entire generation after World War I. And let's be honest, it's a question that feels just as real, just as urgent in our own crazy, fast-paced lives today. So you have to picture this. The sheer, unprecedented destruction of World War I, it just completely shattered this 19th century idea that humanity was always moving forward, always progressing. It just blew it to pieces. And what you got was this lost generation. These were people who came back from the front lines totally traumatized, completely disillusioned, and suddenly they just couldn't find any real meaning in the old values. Things like success, a stable career, climbing the social ladder. It all felt hollow. And this is where our main character, Larry Darrell, comes into the picture. He is the perfect embodiment of this lost generation. See, for him, being a pilot in the war, that's not just some bad memory he has. No, it's a deep trauma that completely shatters his view of the world, and, well, it kickstarts this incredible, life-changing quest for answers. So for Larry, it's this one moment. He sees a friend, a comrade, die. And it's more than just a tragedy. It's this deep existential shock to his system. It forces him, right then and there, to face how fragile life really is. And it makes him ask, what is the point of all this? Why am I supposed to chase a career and money when life can just be gone in an instant? It all seems so random, so meaningless. And this is the moment of what the book calls his great refusal. So on one side, you've got the standard American dream, right? The Western path. Get a good job, make money, climb the social ladder. But Larry, he just looks at all of that and says no. He actively turns away from it. He chooses this difficult, uncertain search for real truth over the easy, comfortable promise of material success. I mean, it's a huge philosophical rejection of everything his culture is telling him to do. So where does he go from there? Well, after looking for answers in the West and coming up empty, Larry's journey eventually takes him all the way to India. And this was a thing back then, A lot of Western thinkers who felt lost were turning to the East. They saw it as this place of ancient spiritual wisdom, a place that wasn't focused on getting rich or famous, but on understanding your inner self. And this is where the novel takes a really fascinating turn. Larry doesn't just visit. He completely immerses himself in what's known as the Indian Knowledge System, or IKS. And we have to be clear here. This isn't just about reading a bunch of old books. No way. The IKS is a whole tradition, and the goal isn't just to know things intellectually. The goal is to completely transform your consciousness through direct personal experience. Okay, so one of the first key concepts Larry really has to grapple with is Maya. Now, this doesn't mean the world isn't real, that you're just dreaming. It's more subtle than that. The idea is that our perception of the material world is the illusion. We get so caught up and trapped by all the temporary stuff, our jobs, our money, our reputation. And according to this philosophy, seeing through that illusion, understanding Maya, that's the absolute first step to breaking free from being attached to it all. And this leads to the absolute heart of the philosophy. The ideas of Atman and Brahman. So think of it this way. Atman is your real, eternal self. It's that pure consciousness that's there underneath all your thoughts and feelings. Then you have Brahman, which is the ultimate universal reality that makes up everything. And here's the kicker, the core insight, sometimes summed up as that thou art. It means your individual consciousness, your Atman, isn't separate from the universal reality. They are literally one and the same. And when you truly, deeply realize that unity, well, that leads to what's called moksha, or liberation. And this isn't about escaping the world and floating on a cloud. It's about a profound shift in your own consciousness. It's about reaching a state of incredible inner freedom and peace, where you're just not being thrown around by every desire, every fear, every little thing that happens to you. Okay, so the big question is, how on earth do you get there? This is the cool part. The Indian knowledge system isn't just a bunch of high-minded ideas. It actually lays out a practical, though, incredibly difficult, path to actually achieving this state of liberation. So this path, it's a very active process. It's not passive at all. It demands serious self-discipline, right? and deep introspection, which is where things like meditation come in. It also requires vairagya, or detachment, learning to let go of your attachment to worldly things. Now, for Larry, having a guide, a guru, is absolutely crucial. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to direct experience. You can't just read about it or think your way to enlightenment. You have to live it. You have to realize it for yourself. All right, so why are we talking about this? Why does a book that's, almost 80 years old still feel so incredibly relevant? I mean, what does Larry's quest really have to say to us right here, right now? Well, one of the brilliant things Mom does is use the other characters as these perfect contrasts to Larry. You've got Isabel, who all she wants is comfort and status. And then there's Elliot, who is just completely obsessed with his own ego and climbing the social ladder. And you see their lives, which look so successful on the outside, but you realize they're spiritually empty, especially when you put them right next to Larry's search for something real. And that just hammers home the point that this search for meaning isn't just some old-fashioned post-war thing. I mean, think about our world today. The constant burnout, the nonstop competition, the endless digital noise. In that context, Larry's decision to put inner peace above what other people think, to choose self-awareness over likes and follows, man, that feels more radical and more necessary than ever before. And this all ties back to the title of the book itself, The Razor's Edge. It actually comes from an ancient Indian text, the Katha Upanishad. And that metaphor is just perfect, isn't it? It perfectly captures the whole point. This kind of spiritual journey is not easy. It's as difficult and as narrow as walking on the edge of a razor. It takes incredible courage and discipline to stay on that path. And so, in the end, the novel kind of flips the script and leaves us with a really powerful, really provocative question. It turns it right back on you and me. In this world that is constantly trying to distract us, constantly pushing us to just conform and buy more stuff, what is your razor's edge? What is that difficult, maybe even scary path that you're willing to walk in your own search for meaning?